In 2014, a helicopter was passing over Siberia. At that time, the pilot's attention was drawn to a strange thing on the ground, a very large sinkhole whose width was 80 feet and its depth was as much as a 15-story building. The pilot took a few laps around the sinkhole, captured a few photos, and then left. But when these photos were posted on the internet, this news spread all over the world like fire. Many scientists, geologists, and Arctic researchers had never seen such a large sinkhole before. And that too, which was formed overnight. Its volume is so large that it can easily hold the water of 10 Olympic-sized swimming pools. But how did it suddenly form? It was not in anyone's control to explain this, at least not by looking at these photos. Located in the north of Russia, this part of Siberia is called the Yamal Peninsula. Due to extreme conditions, there is almost no population here. Only a few thousand nomads live in the entire Yamal Peninsula, and in their language, Yamal means the end of the land. After the news of this sinkhole in Yamal, Arctic geologists started heading here. Speaking of which, there have been many sinkholes in the world before, and many have also appeared in the middle of cities. Sometimes they're seen swallowing cars, and sometimes even entire houses. These sinkholes are mostly formed due to the flow of water, because water weakens the ground below. But geologists say that this Yamal sinkhole does not look normal in any way, because the border of normal sinkholes is flat rather than bulging. And just as a normal sinkhole digs into a part of the ground, which means nothing comes out of it. But when Yamal's sinkhole was observed, its edges were also bulging, and its crater was spread far and wide. Pieces of stones were found to be spread from 200 to 900 meters in radius. Such a crater is found only where an asteroid has fallen. But the researchers did not find any evidence of an asteroid collision inside the sinkhole. Scientists believe that this can only happen in one condition: a very big natural explosion. Normally, lava that boils in the ground can cause such explosions. But if this is true, then the lava or volcanic rocks coming out of the sinkhole should be visible somewhere. There are stones around this sinkhole, but they have no relation with volcanoes. Then, how did this sinkhole, which looks like a crater, form? To know this, some samples of air, water, and soil were collected from the sinkhole. And this time the scientists found an interesting clue. When all these samples were tested, one thing was found in a very large quantity: methane gas. Methane, which is used for cooking and heating, is a natural gas, which is formed by mixing it with carbon and hydrogen. If it is in a large quantity, then when it meets air, it immediately ignites. Now, there were a lot of chances that this sinkhole was formed due to methane gas coming out of the ground. This mystery was now over for the scientists, and they had no interest in going deep into this matter. But before they knew where so much methane gas came from, 8 more sinkholes were found on the Yamal Peninsula. All these sinkholes were also made in the same way as if there was an explosion here. When the satellite images were seen, it was found that after 2014, one after another, sinkholes are being formed here. What exactly were the rapidly forming sinkholes indicating? The scientists were now worried to find out. But what was even more disturbing was that all these sinkholes had a very strong connection with climate change. In 2014, the first sinkhole was formed here, and the next year, a record high temperature was noticed in Siberia, and all the other sinkholes were also formed during this high temperature. Since the beginning of the 19th century, the average temperature of the world has risen to 1 degree Celsius. But in the Arctic Circle, the rate of temperature rise is double. So now the scientists were forced to think about the connection of these sinkholes with climate change, and what will be the future of the Earth if they continue to rise one by one. On the one hand, deep research was going on the sinkholes of Yamal. On the other hand, far away from Yamal, in the Arctic Circle, the other team of scientists saw something unique, which was probably the most important clue to solving the puzzle of the Yamal sinkhole. Near the northwest coast of Alaska, there is an easy lake, which, according to the locals, has been behaving very odd for a few months. Bubbles are coming out of the inside of the Easy Lake as if water is boiling. In search of this mystery, a team of scientists came here. When samples of these bubbles were taken, it was found that these are also methane gas bubbles. It is very common for light methane gas to leak in the Arctic region. But the surprising thing in this case was that Easy Lake was releasing 10 tons of methane every day. This was the first time in the entire Arctic region that so much methane gas was coming out of somewhere. The research team decided to go into the water in the Easy Lake and see the source of methane gas. Although the Easy Lake is 3 foot deep, but the place where the bubbles were coming out of was very deep, where it was not possible for divers to go. Therefore, with the help of sonar scanning, a 3D model of the land beneath the Easy Lake was created. It was found that the lake is 50 feet deep from where the bubbles are coming out. On the one hand, the reason for the formation of sinkholes in the Yamal was also methane gas. On the other hand, below the Easy Lake, methane gas was also leaking there in a much larger quantity. Both of these locations come in the Arctic Circle, and there is one more thing common between the two. These two locations are present on a type of land called permafrost. Permafrost is a type of land that is completely frozen from the inside. This is a land spread over a very large area, which includes many parts of Russia, Canada, and Alaska. Recent research has shown that due to the increase in temperature in the Arctic Circle, permafrost has now begun to melt. That is, the land on which there are lakes, mountains, rivers, and forests, along with human-made structures. If they melt from the inside, then it is very difficult to imagine what will happen as a result. The proof of the melting of permafrost is 600 kilometers away from the Easy Lake near Foxtown in Alaska, hidden in the forests. This forest is also present above the permafrost, where locals have noticed that the trees of the forest have suddenly bent to one side. It seems as if the roots of these trees have weakened. In addition, when they went deep into the forest, they found that the ground here is also muddy and a strange hole has formed in the ground. In this hole, the sound of water falling is constantly heard, while there is no spring of water or lake nearby. This is not such a big change happening for many centuries, but it started only after 2018. But the question is, what is the connection between the melting of permafrost, methane gas, and the sinkhole of Yamal? To understand this, in Fairbanks, Alaska, a tunnel has been dug inside the permafrost. What is seen inside this tunnel is that along with frozen land, there are also the remains of ancient animals, in which mammoth, steppe bison, and thousands of years old grass have also been preserved. This shows that there is a lot of organic matter in the permafrost. You all know that all organic matter has carbon in it. As the plants grow, they absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, and when they die, during decomposition, some of these carbons are released back into the atmosphere. But due to freezing temperatures in the Arctic Circle, the decomposition process is very slow. That's why for thousands of years, a lot of organic matter has been preserved inside the permafrost. That is, their bodies have not yet decomposed and there is still carbon in them. Experts believe that the amount of carbon in the Arctic permafrost may not even be in the atmosphere of the entire Earth due to the global temperature rise. As the permafrost melts, the organic matter in it, i.e. fossils, are decomposing. Bacteria eat their carbon for their energy and then release methane gas in return. In addition, due to the melting of the permafrost, the Earth is also becoming soft, and now the methane gas stuck underneath does not have to face any obstacles to come up. The gas easily makes its way through the soft soil and explodes out of the weak points of the surface. These sinkholes are formed due to the release of this gas. This is why the number of sinkholes in the Arctic Circle is increasing day by day. According to experts, no solution has yet been found to this problem. No matter how much we control global warming, we cannot stop the permafrost from melting. I hope you'll like this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.